Okay, I'm working on my 2008 Mazda 6 with the 4-cylinder here today. I'm going to be showing you where the expansion valve is on here. I have the front off doing some other work. This is what this part looks like. And if you're doing, AC diagnostics, you probably will want to replace this. It's not very expensive. And it's a common failure point, just like the orifice tube just quits operating properly. So I was having other issues, but I wanted to replace this as well. And so if you come, I said I got the front off of mine, but if you come to the passenger side over here, you just kind of follow your Freon hoses, and then right back here on this firewall you can see where this thing's sitting and kind of how it's oriented. So it's not too difficult to get back in here. We got one 10mm right there that we have to get off to start with. So you just have to get in there with an extension or appropriate length socket and get that 10mm loose first. We're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and I've kind of just got an extension that I can fit and get back behind this hose here and start turning this thing. Okay, before you start replacing parts on your AC, you will obviously want to make sure that you've had the Freon evacuated out of the system. Okay, now with that bolt out, we should be able to work this out of here. It may actually, I think we'll go ahead and take this here because it's still a little bit stiff. We may go ahead and just remove this clamp. Let's see, we got another one down here, but it's kind of stiff, so we may have to pop at least one or two of these clamps off here to make it a little bit easier. Okay, I only needed to take this one that's back in here, like behind this windshield wiper bottle, and it gave me plenty of slack, and now I've got it kind of pulled free there. Okay, so when you pop the big line out, this thing was kind of holding by this clamp here, so then you just pop that little clamp out of there, and I'm just going to kind of pull these aside now. Okay, now we're getting down here with an Allen wrench, a 4mm, and we're getting a hold of these Allen headed, and you'll want to get in here with a magnet. And now we're going to go ahead and take that bottom one there as well. We got a top one and a bottom one. Okay, and there's those two. You can see what those look like. Okay, so with those two bolts out, we're just going to reach in here and wiggle this thing until we can. And there it is. And you can see how it slides in there. It just kind of slides over those pieces right there. All have O-rings on those, which we will replace some of these. Here's a O-ring kit. You can get these from the part stores that'll have every O-ring for the Mazda 6. We'll just get in here and pick the size we need to go on our hoses and everything. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is get in here to this part, and I'm going to take my little pick tool and remove those O-rings right there with this, and we're going to find the appropriate size, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove the O-ring from this one and remove this O-ring right here. We're just going to take those off and find the size we need to replace those. Okay, we have our new one here. We're getting ready to set it back in here, and of course make sure to put some clean oil, pad oil on those O-rings. So I'm just going to slide this back in here into its O-rings. Goes just like that. The stepped holes go back in towards the evaporator, just like this. Okay, now we can get our two little bolts back in there. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention, because I've run into this with aftermarket, these counter bores here, where these bolts go in, won't be deep enough. So your replacement part, make sure to look that you got the same number of threads or the amount of that bolt coming through as you do with your original part, because I've run into that, and you can not realize it and go to slap it on and strip your threads out and everything else. So take a look at that before you slap that new part on. Okay, so just made sure that we had some oil on the O-rings and inside the holes where we snap those back in. And I popped the little one in first, and then the big part. Now I'm just going to get my bolt back into that there, and we'll be all finished up here. Okay, so I just gave that the final snug, and that is going to conclude this video. And I thank y'all for watching. As always, if you found it helpful, give it a like, and I invite you to subscribe.